What's up guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be riding my 2018 KLX and giving you some first impressions of the motorcycle, as well as some of the things that I think that could be improved on, as well as the things I think the motorcycle does well. So let's go ahead and get into the video and what I think about it. So one of the great things you get here is fuel mileage on a 250 is really good, and you spend $5 to fill it up. Fuel capacity of this is about 2 gallons, I think, and I get about 100 miles out of it every tank. One of the first things you notice about this motorcycle, and any single cylinder in general, is that they have a pretty decent amount of torque, which is really helpful around the city, and it's one of the things that creates the most fun as well. It's a lot of fun accelerating from 0 to 50, stoplight to stoplight. And combined with the maneuverability with this motorcycle, it really makes it a hoot in the city. So yeah, in terms of power, like I said, it does really well from about 0 to 50. Once you get past that, you kind of need to be into it a lot to get any acceleration beyond that. It takes a while to get from, say, 50 to 70. For example, if you were trying to pass someone. And the only thing I have in terms of aftermarket parts on this motorcycle is a slip-on muffler, which doesn't really do much for power. You can get some more top-end power by doing a header and a fuel controller. And of course, one of the great things about riding a dual sport in the city is that with extra suspension travel, you can take the bumps at just about however fast you want to. And the motorcycle won't really be bothered by it at all. And combine both the torque and the suspension travel, you can really have a lot of fun in the city. especially with the maneuverability of a 250. Back it into corners. Do whatever you want. And so yeah, that's the great thing about this, is that maneuverability, power, the torque, and the suspension travel in the city. It's really the perfect motorcycle. You can get into a lot of trouble as well as have a lot of fun by jumping curbs, doing wheelies in the lot, backing it into corners. So in terms of fun, the 250 is, I'd say, about an 8 out of 10. And the only reason that it's an 8 out of 10 is because a couple of reasons where this motorcycle has a couple shortcomings, which I'll explain later. But while we're off the bike, this isn't the stock exhaust, and I have a sound video on my channel already, but I have an FMF Q4, so might as well give it a couple revs real quick. So now that we've talked about some of the good things about the KLX, let's go ahead and talk about where it comes up a little short. Like I said, the power is really good around town. If you're in the right gear, you have plenty of power to pass someone. Now, it's not like my Corvette type of passing power or my Ninja type of passing power, but it gets the job done. But like I said earlier, and you could kind of see with that little highway section I did, once you get above 50 and are trying to pass someone, it doesn't do too well. Kind of putters out. So if you're going to use this motorcycle on the freeway, you're either going to have to stay camped in the right lane, cruising at 65, maybe 70, or you're gonna have to get a couple aftermarket modifications such as headers, or header in this case, a fuel controller slip-on, and the airbox modification. And if you have the money to spend, you can even do a big bore and cams, and that will get you up to the power of about 250 motocross bike, which would be about perfect for this motorcycle. It would allow you to cruise at about 70 miles an hour comfortably, and it would give you that passing power that you're looking for on the highway. And it will expand the power band a bit more. You won't have to wait as long to get in the power band, because the power really comes on at, I'd say, around 6,000 RPM. So while we're on the topic, let's go ahead and talk about another shortcoming, but it's really to be expected with a dual sport, and that's the ergonomics, wind protection, all of that. So the stock seat is fine for about an hour, but after an hour it really starts getting to you, and it feels like you're sitting on a 2x4 wrapped in leather, which is a common theme on other dual sports. Most people get aftermarket seats, so that's pretty easy to fix. And that brings up my next point. If you're going to be doing any sort of commuting on the highway, you should really look elsewhere for a different motorcycle, because this won't really get the job done very well. I suppose you could get it to work if you have the proper gear. The helmet I was wearing when I was commuting about a couple hours on the highway was a dual sport helmet, and that's not really the best helmet for the highway. Lots of wind noise, your head moves around a lot. So if you were to wear a better helmet, I suppose that it would probably be better. And to mitigate the wind a bit better, you could also put a little Dakar style windshield on it, and that would direct the wind upwards a bit more instead of you taking the brunt of it. Other than the wind noise and the roll-on power, it's really a fun bike, and with a little bit more power I think it would be perfect, because I think with a little bit more power it'd be a little bit more comfortable on the highway. You put a small windscreen on that would direct the wind up out of your face, and with a little bit more power you could also get into the power band a bit quicker. So now that we've talked about some of the shortcomings and what this bike does well, I'll talk a little bit about why I chose the KLX versus, say, a DRZ or a Yamaha. So the KLX, I think, does everything the best all around. In terms of performance, you're pretty close to the Yamaha and way better than the Honda. It gets up and goes a lot better than the Honda. In terms of suspension, the Yamaha is probably the best. It's the most stiff, and I think it has a little bit more travel. And the Honda is the softest, and I didn't want that. So the KLX fits the bill pretty well in terms of suspension. Now in terms of price, Honda is the cheapest, and again the Kawasaki's in the middle. And the Yamaha is the most expensive, and I think the Yamaha starts around $6,500. And so if I were to be considering a Yamaha, I would think really hard about being able to spend an extra $1,000 to find a Husqvarna or KTM 250, because the power would be more present and the suspension is a lot closer to a motocross bike, as well as the weight. The weight of the KLX is right around 300 pounds. I think the Yamaha is around 290 and the Honda is around 320. And you can really feel it on the Honda when you're sitting on it. It feels noticeably heavier compared to the Kawasaki. And the Kawasaki really only feels heavy when you compare it to a motocross bike. But when I rode this on the trail, I didn't really feel like I was working the motorcycle a lot, having to switch directions a lot. So in conclusion, I think this motorcycle is perfect for those commuting in the city. The power, I would rate 6 out of 10. Torque, probably 8 out of 10. Comfort, I would rate, I'd say 8 out of 10 for the first hour, and after that it was kind of miserable. I'd rate it a 4 or 5 out of 10, but it can be fixed pretty easily with an aftermarket seat that's wider and softer, which they make for these. Agility, I would rate this a 9 out of 10, because other than a full-on race bike, there's nothing better than throwing a 250 around the corners like you would with a Miata. It's the same sort of concept, driving a slow motorcycle fast is really what makes it fun. And with that, we have reached the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Browse the channel for more motorcycle content. I have some more coming. I'm refining my helmet setup to get better audio. So, what are your thoughts on the 2018 KLX250? What do you think about it? Do you think it's underpowered? Do you think it's the perfect motorcycle with a little bit more power? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And be sure to share it with someone who may be considering their first motorcycle, because I think it makes a great first bike. And with all that being said, be sure to subscribe if you have not. Join the Motor Club, and I'll see you in the next one.
I stand 10 toes down, AK-47 with